Fantastic. Well, welcome to this installation of AutoVitals webinars. So today, very excited about our guests and very excited about the topic. So our guests today are Brittany Schindler. Brittany is the Chief Operating Officer and owner at Rod's Master Auto Tech and Rod's Japanese. Up in Washington, incredible shops, and I know you'll hear. I imagine many of you already know her or know her work, and you'll hear quite a bit more from her about that and her experience, how that's translated into results. Frank Scandura, recently, formerly, the namesake, as we call them over in Frank's European in Las Vegas. So very excited to hear from Frank, and the man himself, Uwe Kleinschmidt, not only the CEO and founder of AutoVitals, but also the founder of AutoVitals, which making him not only near and dear to our heart, but also his mentality and what he's brought to AutoVitals has been is really just building on a lot of the success that he created and building on a lot of the same principles that he implemented and created at AutoVitals. So why don't we advance to the next slide and we'll kind of hop right into it. So this is intended to be an educational session. The turnout is fantastic and for very good reason. So here are the things that we're going to talk about. Why JobViewIQ, right? We'll talk about what the results are of educating motorists, both on approval rates, and then how that translates into ARO and into other key metrics. What are the ways that you should measure DVI process effectiveness? And again, what are the results that you should expect coming out of that? So again, before we jump into some of the content, before I turn it over to Uwe and Brittany and Frank, the reason for this alignment, I think, should be fairly obvious. So AutoVitals really represents and stands for what we would call shop success, right? So shop success means engaging your motorist clients at the best level possible, educating them, developing a sense of trust, transparency, and whatnot. And obviously, AutoVitals offers, in addition to offering a fantastic product, we also offer dedicated advisors, client success advisors, who are constantly there to provide training, provide insights, and whatnot. But I think what we found, and what Uwe and the team have also found, is there are some folks who want to go even deeper, right? A dedicated specialist and the business control panel is not enough. They want to go even deeper. They care even more than just taking that heightened level of service and insights from our reporting. And that's where JobViewIQ steps in, right? Is how do you continue to drive your ARO and your work approval rates even higher with deeper commitment and with deeper training. So I'm personally excited. I know quite a bit about JobViewIQ, and I'm really excited for the next 25 minutes or so and learn about it at even a deeper level. So with that, Uwe, I'd love to turn it over to you. And if you guys want to take us through the slides and kind of banter back and forth, maybe we'll have some time for questions after as well. That'd be great.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Let's jump right into it, because in our experience, those 30 minutes are gone like super fast.
Super fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so JobViewIQ, why did we do that? It's all Frank's fault.
True. Yeah.
If I had $1 for every time I said that,
you'd have $2.
So what happened in the back in the AutoVitals times, I can't remember the year. Frank, we were looking at numbers, of course, and the phenomenon was that Frank, using AutoVitals, had 2 service advisors with completely different outcomes. One service advisor would consistently create $3,000 more per week than the other service advisor.
With
Same
fewer
tech,
cars.
with fewer cars. Same tax, same
tools.
tool.
Yeah.
And so I said to Frank, I have only one suggestion. Listen to their phone calls. And voila. And Frank, I hope I represent that correctly. One service advisor was in the paper-based inspection process, stuck in there. And the other one had started to embrace using the digital vehicle inspection in a way that empowered customers. And the way we knew that is through the customer research time, which is one of the most important KPIs in this whole DVI process. And I'm really glad that it is a major part of the AutoVitals business control panel. And so service advisor 1 had 10 minutes. Can you believe this? His customers would study unattended the inspection results for 10 minutes. Service advisor 2 had 3 minutes. And here are the findings by Frank. And Frank, if you want to jump in and.
Yeah. And what we learned from listening to the calls and paying attention was the service advisor with a higher research time, the higher sales and fewer cars, basically told the customer, you've got to look at the inspection. And funny thing, right? We first went digital. I says, send the inspections. And everybody said, yeah, sure. And then you do the measurables and they're not getting sent. So then you do the training and the accountability. And service advisor 2 would send the inspections because Frank was going to climb up his butt again if he didn't. So he would just appease me by sending them, but never follow the rest of the process. Asking the customer to review the inspection, asking the customer to, if, do you have any questions? So having something for the customer to look at is so important. It's not just enough to send a picture of a fuzzy brake rotor. It has to be something worth looking at. And that's what we find in the reviews of the JobViewiQ board. I've taken shop owners and looked at their inspections and asked them, what's this a picture of? I can't really say for sure. And these are guys that are seasoned technicians. And so that tells you everything you need to know about making sure the inspections really communicating the proper message.
And so JobViewiQ got created to basically measure what we think is the best metric for how well your DVI process works, and that's decline job rates. Right? So we look into your database. We have a little AI and machine learning machine running in the background. So whether you call it LOF or minor maintenance or oil change, our software doesn't really care. We all standardize that into the same job so we can compare it across shops and then determine the decline rates. And we also take inspection KPIs. Thank you, AutoVitals, for providing that software interface so nobody needs to type in anything. And it's amazing what we find. So the bottom line is the highest approval rates happen when you empower your customer. So instead of sending unedited pictures to the customer who look at the first picture, don't understand it, look at the second picture, don't understand it, stop looking,
Yeah,
and burden the service advisor with a long phone call to spend 90% of the phone call convincing the customer or explaining what they see on the pictures and then asking in the same phone call for approval. That's a lot of pressure on a customer, right? We recommend to really make the picture self-explanatory. And Brittany is, I can say with confidence, the rock star in our certification. So we certify shops, we look at your DVI process, we give you feedback. And when I certified Brittany, I was blown away. I mean, she did everything right. There was nothing to talk about. I mean, she exceeded any standard we had set from our experience. And Brittany, want to share your estimate and your ARO and how long your inspection takes?
Yeah. So I've been using AutoVitals for 11 years now, I think. And I really like to compete against myself, rather than anybody else. So that's what I've always done over the years. And then I've done beta testing for AutoVitals. I just want to get better and better and better. And of course, becoming the manager and then owner of the business, I wanted to like beef up productivity and efficiency and at the same time making sure that the customers were happy. Our estimated average per car is around $6,000 and our ARO is 1,700. And we're just a general repair shop. We mostly work on Japanese and domestics. And I do that a lot because of AutoVitals. I've figured out how to get the most out of the tool and really like you guys said, like Jon said, like empower our customers so that they feel educated and that they want to buy from us. That's like what my main focus has been with the inspection. I've always said, and I said this a long time ago when I first started with it, is I want to make the inspection so well that the customer doesn't have to Google anything. And that going by that and tailoring my inspection to that has really helped empower my customers and actually teach them things rather than be like, I don't really know what that is, but sure, go ahead and do it because I trust you. Like that's, some people are like that, right? And they just don't want to understand. But I really do want them to understand, and I want them to feel confident and understand, because that's the kind of world we're living in nowadays too, right? Everybody's Google everything. If something that you don't know, you're going to Google it and you're going to find out the answer. Well, they're already at a shop and you're already the professional. So why would they have to go to Google, right? If we can explain it in a way that they would understand it, then it's going to make sense. And why would they need to go to Google? They don't need to. They're at a professional. That's where you get your information from. And that's really helps. So AutoVitals is the most amazing tool. And by the way, being a trainer now for almost a year with JobView, AutoVitals is a million miles better than any other inspection, like by far. So it's the best one to work with. We're here, me and Frank are here to help train, help you perfect things on especially the highest decline jobs. And then the tools also gets a little bit more deeper in depth of some other things to look at, and we'll get into that in the next slide, actually.
Thank you. Let me try to pick up what Brittany just said. We as consumers want to buy and not be sold. And the more we have the information available, and with the introduction of online places like Amazon, you can blame them too. They conditioned us to get empowered, right? When we buy, we're not picking up the phone and asking somebody something. We just Google, look at the reviews, look at the data, look at the pictures, right? So the goal is basically that the inspection result, when sent out, is layman capable, meaning it's self-explanatory, can be understood by a layman, and then triggers this desire to buy. So instead of the service advisor downloading information 90% of the phone call, the customer talks 60% of the phone call and asks questions. And then the service advisor shines, right, with the knowledge. And then the approval rate goes up. So I want you to imagine you go to Amazon, you look for a product, you find a page, you cannot decipher the picture. Not that it's blurry or anything, you just don't know what it shows. And while you're trying to figure this out, you get a phone call from an Amazon salesperson who is explaining to you the picture and asking for the buy. You would never use Amazon ever again. because you have so gotten used to be empowered in your autonomy to make decisions on what to buy and when, right? So the moment we as consumers are empowered to do it on our timeline and our control, we approve more. That's the bottom line, right? And before we go to the next slide, I want to mention one more thing Brittany, in my opinion, did in a fascinated way in order to open the eyes of her staff. What is layman? She asked her technician to inspect a shop car, asked the service writer to write it up, and then sent it to the technicians and service advisors' spouses and asked them to explain back what they understood.
Interesting.
What happened, Brittany?
It's funny how much people don't actually know, because then you get really honest opinions, right? Rather than a customer pretending to know, because no one likes to feel dumb, right? Nobody does, or tell you that they feel dumb. So when you send it to someone that you trust, that you like, hey, I just want an honest opinion, you get back so much feedback that you're like, shit, or shoot, sorry. And something so dumb. Like there was for tires, for instance, there was one and it was, you have 5:30 seconds left of tread depth left. And that was it. Or it said like 5:30 seconds left. And then she was like, why is it 5:30 seconds? Why didn't you reduce my fraction? And what does that mean? And to us, we're like, well, duh, it's like the tire measurement of your tread depth left. And we can't say, duh, that's what it is. Okay. To us professionals, yes, we do it every day, all day, every day. Customers do not. How often do they see us? 1.5 times a year or something like that? They're not researching cars and everything about them all the time. So we need to not say done. We need to make it so clear that there's no room for questioning on the inspection. So I always tell people, please look at the customer view, look at what you write on your pictures. Does it make sense to someone who knows absolutely nothing about vehicles? Because that's what's really going to help you. Because like Uwe said, you want the customer to call and talk the most, be like, wow, I really learned a lot about my car. The main questions we want them to say is, when can you get it done and how much?
Yep.
And maybe they say, what can I defer, right? And then you answer that too. But that's an absolute natural interaction compared with a download of data in a very short period of time in one phone call. Let's go to the next slide, if that's okay. Believe it or not, the most declined job across all certified shops, and we have north of 500 certified shops, is filters. And you would think, dang, with the DVI, filters should be, a walk in the park. It's not, for several reasons. The most declined and difficult to sell from a gross margin perspective is replace shocks and struts. And that's pretty tough. The DVI has a limited ability to show you what's inside the shocks or struts, right? If it leaks, it's too late, right? But there are ways of doing that. And so JobViewiQ monitors the most declined jobs, and with the help of Brittany and Frank, and if I may say that, with my help, you will improve your inspection process and decline job rates. And as we mentioned before, nothing new to AutoVitals customers. If the customer research time goes up, ARO goes up. Right? The more you empower customers, the higher their approval rate. Next slide, please.
Yeah, it's really important to give them something to really dig their teeth into.
Can you click one more? So that's a typical JobViewiQ graph where we are not only showing the decline rate overall for this particular job, if you really look into it, there is a huge difference between a decline rate for an immediate attention job and for a future attention job. Right, an immediate attention job should be sold by the service advisor at this visit. That decline rate is a true decline rate. And in this case, for this job, they recommend the filter to 25% of their customers every fourth RO and get declined 75% of the time. And it's presented as an immediate attention item, right? This is not unusual. I did not pick the worst job in the network. This is completely, I'm hesitating to say standard, but
Typical.
it's typical. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. And even filters might be low margin, but over time, I should say they are high margin but low volume in dollars, right? If you have the process down, it will contribute to the bottom line substantially, right? The decline rate, I think our best shop in the network has a decline rate of 15%. That's the yardstick for engineer filter. And there's more. So let's talk about future attention. A decline rate of a future attention item is a pretty good indicator how well you prepare the next visit. Right? A service advisor who puts something on future attention and reuses it at pickup can prepare the next visit and has a much easier way to do exit scheduling. Right? Because if you put yourself in your customer's shoes, the yellow stuff is still sticks in your head. I have to take care of this later. It's important, but not for now, right? And re-emphasizing that message is helpful. So in other words, a decline rate, a high decline rate for an immediate attention item is an education need for the service advisor. A high decline rate for a future attention item is a good thing. It means the next visit is prepared well, right? And so we show that in JobView There's a third category. We actually measure your process maturity. Process maturity means, is there always an inspection result presented to the customer when a job is being proposed? Or is there a declined job which doesn't even have an inspection result? And the other way around, we also measure, did the technician do the inspection and the service advisor didn't even put it on the estimate? And so all the consulting companies asking you to do an audit of your inspections and your estimates, that's hours at the kitchen table on a Saturday. This tool does it in 10 seconds for you. Next slide, please. That is what everybody should be aiming for, right? The blue ones, as you have probably figured, is the approved jobs per week. The red ones are the declined. And the orange line is the decline rate, average out over 4 weeks. And in this case, for all service advisors, but you can drill down to service advisors. You can drill down to individual ROs if that's what's needed, right? And you can see here for this particular shop, in the last 4 weeks, the approved revenue was $5,500. That's nothing to sneeze at, right? And the declined opportunity is $354. So this shop does it right and still has a relatively high recommendation rate every 6 RO. We recommend to go to every 4th RO, but in the process of learning how to present, for example, a filter, which we help your service advisor with, it's sometimes a good idea to slow down first before ramp it up again, right? So that's what you see here. Every 6 RO is in the ramp up phase. Any additions, Brittany, Frank, you want to make? What's your experience with the check-ins?
John, you wanted to say something?
No, I was gonna ask a question about how do you, it's a two-step process in getting improvements and changes like this implemented. So I imagine, right? The first is, and we go through this all the time, daily basis. The first is convincing the owner, manager, implementer that this is important, this is the right approach, and to jump in, right? And if somebody engages, when somebody engages us, somebody engages Autotech IQ, they've made that commitment and you've convinced them. Then you've got to get it implemented on the front lines, right? So Bob does all, or Sue does all of this as a technician, but Bob, it's really hard to get him to do it, right? Or vice versa on as service advisors. How do you coach shops on making sure it's everything is getting implemented? Is it bonuses and compensation? Is it just show them the data and they'll likely get on board? Really, what's the magic trick? What makes that work?
I think the keyword is quick win.
Yeah. And how, if the staff doesn't understand the why, they're never going to tell the customer. I had a shop, one of their 3 advisors had a 100% decline rate on shocks and struts. And in trying to get to the answers, why is your decline rate so high? She goes, well, I don't even know why we're recommending them. Bing, 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 bing. So these are the things we discover with the audit. Because if you know your conversion rate on your estimates, 35 or 40%, most shop owners are happy with that. But what they don't see is that low-hanging fruit, especially when it comes to filters. Well, why does, and I was guilty of this, I'm sure, because, I'm just an average guy like the rest of you. Why every time a customer gets electrocuted on an estimate and they say, oh my gosh, what should I do now? What should I wait for? Why do we as service professionals take the filters and the fluids and kick them down the road? Over and over and over, right? So we need to change our thinking and help them understand, look, your customers trust you. They know you're recommending things they need. Stop that process and say, okay, here's the urgent things that you came in for today. Here's the things that we found were red. Let's put a couple of these filters in here too, and we'll start your catch-up maintenance. And I'd like to make an appointment market for you next month, and we'll get some more of this stuff done. How's that sound? Right? So same approach, same discussion, but now I'm not taking them out of the equation. I'm leaving them in there. How about you, Brittany?
I mean, most of the people that we train are there for a reason. They want to get better. That's why they already sign up with us. I mean, the tool alone without our training is something so huge for a shop owner. It is for me too. But the training part too is we find the person that we should be training, right? Sometimes there's we find out who the right person to train is, and we help service advisors too. So it's not just owners or managers. We do train service advisors to help them understand the why and why it's important, and understanding these graphs. A lot of people do like to compete with themselves too, or with their team or against another service advisor. So that's really helpful to do with how we can be able to split it up on our graphs here. But like we said too, the quick wins, and then just understanding, and like what I'm trying to do especially too is just come up with a new way of thinking and understanding things. People are always like Frank just said, take off the maintenance and the fluids and filters. Like, why are we doing that? like everyone says, well, I really care about my customer. I want to help them out with money, right? Okay, let's talk about the money thing that we can save a customer. Ultimately, if you're a pure maintenance shop and you do mostly maintenance, your customer is actually ultimately going to spend a whole lot less with you than they would just doing repairs. So then people are like, so I literally have like math equations to help them understand it. And they're like, I'm just trying to come up with a new way of thinking to stop getting these highest decline jobs still being declined. So I mean, we're just trying to do our best to help try to change this industry too, to really help take care of customers' cars, because that's what we're ultimately wanting to do, right? We're wanting to do the right thing. So we're just coming up with different ways, and everybody's different with their action items that we help create. And the managers or owners, whoever we're talking to, they help create the action item tailored specifically to their shop, because every shop is different. There's plenty of shops out there that are super successful that do things completely different than I do or Frank does. And that's fine. And that works for their culture of their internal customers and then their external customers, right? So whatever works, we figure it out together. And like this tool does so much on its own.
And I want to add one more thing. The more actionable it is, the higher the chance of success, right? So the muddier the, change the way you present, right? Just lower your decline rate. Those are all kind of useless instructions. But let's focus on one decline job. Let's create a quick win. And the moment you have success, you want more. That's just a general behavior, right? So the smaller the action item is with the highest success rate, right? The momentum starts by itself almost. Cool. Wow.
Just like that.
Just like that. We have another slide. So if you wanna sign up, it's not just a simple sign up. You go to dvidoneright.com. There's a little bit more explanation of what we just talked about, and you can take the DVI process survey. So we integrate with your point of sale, and then we give you feedback on your DVI process. I do that. That's the certification session, half an hour, not a big deal. And you already received 2 low-hanging fruit implementation steps for your DVI at no cost. And then we look at your data together, and you might sign up for JobViewiQ to take the data to a better place.
Sounds pretty awesome. Yeah, I know we have a lot of common clients. Not surprisingly, already we're seeing fantastic results. And again, it feels like this is a great complement to, you get lots of training and lots of dedicated customer success advisor through AutoVitals who will train you how to use the products and give you some best practices. But this is absolutely a fantastic way to kind of go that next step for $150 a month and a little bit of time commitment. I mean, there's no doubt that you're going to see a long-term return on that. So I think it's pretty fantastic. And you're learning from 3 of the best that helped create a lot of AutoVitals best practices and a lot of the culture here. So pretty awesome. So congratulations on all the success up to this point. And we're really excited. And Frank, congrats on your newfound freedom and more time to spend on AutoTech IQ. And that's it. Brittany, always great to see you. And Uwe, I look forward to catching up soon. So thanks again for dropping this knowledge on us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, gang. Talk soon.
Uwe, Bill had one question before we drop. Go ahead and drop, Jonathan.
Okay.
Can a shop choose which decline jobs to focus on in JobViewiQ?
Out of the top 10. So we actually top 9. Don't ask me why it's not top 10. We have determined the top 9 decline jobs across the network and ask you to select one of those.
Okay, perfect.
So the benefit is high, right? It doesn't make sense to look for a job which doesn't have a lot of decline rate. It has to be in the top 9.
Nice. Makes sense. Perfect. Well, if no one else has any questions, we will be sure to send you the recording. In the recording email, we'll also have AutoTechIQ's contact information, the DVI-doneright.com link, so you can go ahead and complete the certification. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Uwe. I know you're on Facebook, or at the AutoTechIQ email address. Cool. Thanks,
Thank
Uwe.
you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.